For today, in the name of freedom, we take the battle to them.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have finally watched Superman. I have been wanting to watch this movie since it came out. I have been dying to watch this, but every single time I wanted to, like nothing would line up properly, and I just wouldn't have the chance. And granted that this review is like basically a week late, it's fine. And it just gave me time to, sit with the movie and sort of, really take it in. Because I don't really like doing reviews immediately after I watch the movie anymore, because I sort of wait at least a day until I do a review, just, so that it's not really any sort of recency bias or something that I didn't understand that I might complain about in the video. Which, by the way, in the Fantastic Four review, I was talking about spoilers for that. Well, actually, not really. When they go to Galactus's ship and Reed or whoever it is, like steps on the floor and there's a four there, I thought that that was a previous Fantastic Four ship or something, meaning that Galactus has killed more Fantastic Four teams. No, it was literally just that there's a four on the bottom of their boots. But anyway, we are not here to talk about Fantastic Four. We are here to talk about Superman. Almost a month. Almost a month since it came out. But, who cares? I apologize if there's any sort of background noise. There is horrific winds right now. It is midnight, but man, the winds have not let down since freaking like 6 p.m. But Superman is a movie that I've been both excited and scared to talk about because this just seems to be the movie that everyone craps on. I say that, obviously the movie's done well, but when I say everyone, I mean the very vocal Snyder fans. And my God, it just shows just how freaking miserable people are. It is horrific. There is no movie in my entire existence that I have seen that has brought out such like horrific like not habits, like that has just brought out the worst in people. It is actually shocking, and it's freaking Superman. So like, if anything was going to do this, I thought it would be Gladiator 2, but regardless. Anyway, Superman, a movie that I've been very excited for. David Corenswet, I think, is was a perfect choice to play the role. When I first saw his casting, I didn't, I hadn't seen it, but obviously since then, I had seen him in Pearl, and obviously, I don't know how many times I just said the word obviously. I'm so sorry. He was, in that movie for a decent amount, and I think he did a decent job until he got a rake through the freaking mouth. You got him here, and of course you have Nicholas Hoult, who is an actor I'm a huge fan of, as freaking Lex Luthor. Now, I'm going to preface this by telling you, yes, you can see, 3 minutes in, and I barely said anything. It's gonna be a long video. I'm gonna preface this by saying the only version of Superman I have ever been exposed to is Henry Cavill's one. And I know there's going to be people who are already rolling their eyes, being like, oh my God. I have not seen the Christopher Reeve Superman. I have wanted to for the longest time, but I still just haven't gotten around to it. But, I will watch it. I'm excited to watch it, because from what I gather, this movie took a lot of inspiration, like tone-wise, or at least marketing-wise, and made it, sort of look very much like the Christopher Reeve Superman, which, I'm excited to see. I am excited to see it. My mom has always said, "Oh, Christopher Reeve is like that's the only Superman to me," and I'm like, you know what? Honestly, fair enough. But obviously, even though the only Superman that I actually watched was the Henry Cavill version, which was a very dark version of the character, Even I knew that Superman is meant to be this, like, character that inspires hope. He's not meant to be this, like, super dark, edgy, dramatic character. He's just meant to be like that old school superhero. And that is honestly the perfect way to describe the Superman movie. Is a good old school superhero film. And oh wow. So let's just talk about the man himself. David Cornsford as Superman, I thought was great. He looked so good. I love the costume. It looks like pajamas. It looks so good. Honestly, for like basically any other superhero, if you say that their costume looks like pajamas, then that would be a horrendous thing. But for Superman, it's so good. It looks so nice as opposed to a freaking CGI suit, man. I loved his acting. I love the line deliveries, everything like that. Especially, of course, that big, speech near the end of the movie. I just think that he was fantastic. He was a great choice for Superman, and whew, I think yes, I think that he is better than Henry Cavill. Acting wise, definitely, because no offense to Henry Cavill, I think that he's such a cool dude. But as Superman, he didn't really have to do much. He sort of just had to look like stone face most of the time. Even in Batman vs Superman, when an entire room of people got blown up. But I need to stop talking about the Henry Cavill version, don't I? I'm sorry. He was great. Nicholas Hoult as freaking Lex Luthor. Oh man, he was so good. So good. I mean, realistically, Lex Luthor shouldn't be that hard of a character to nail, because all you gotta do is just like amp up that hater energy to the max. All you gotta do is just be pissed of how much you hate Superman. Obviously, that's. I mean, I was gonna say there's more to his character, but really, that there's not. That's pretty much all Lex Luthor is, and it is so good just to have a supervillain like that. He's not even a supervillain. He is a villain. It's just nice. You don't need all this tragic backstory. Or he's just evil. Obviously, I love the evil just for the sake of being evil villains. But yeah, it's not even that. He just hates Superman. It's such a simple motivation. He just hates him. Of course, they do elaborate on it later on, but that is the gist of it. And I think Nicholas Hoult was so good. Of course, I'd seen him in the X-Men movies. I'd seen him in The Menu. He is the biggest actor of this film, which is why his paycheck was like so much more than anyone else's. It was ridiculous, actually. Rachel Brosnan, I think that's how you say her name. Loved her as Lois Lane. Absolutely, just so good. I loved it when she was, when she was comedic, when she was, sort of, I wouldn't say cheerful, but just chill. When she was chill. Obviously, when she's in reporter mode, then Lois Lane is just a completely different person. Moving on to the Justice Gang, you have, I hope I don't pronounce his name. I probably will be. Uh, Eddie Gathegi? Eddie Gathegi? However you say it. Darwin from X-Men First Class. It's so nice to see him have a comic book role where he doesn't die immediately. Honestly, people talk about the upgrades that actors have had, from like their Marvel role to the DC role and vice versa. This has got to be one of the biggest because you had Darwin who lasted basically 2 scenes. He was like, "Oh yeah, my ability. Oh yeah, I adapt to survive. I can't die." Immediately dies. He's the only mutant that dies in that movie. And then you get a Superman, and Mr. Terrific is one of the standouts of the film. He was so freaking cool, man. He just owned every single scene he was in. He was amazing. Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern. Look, I love Nathan Fillion. I love him to death. The Rookie is probably, like, as far as shows that are still airing, it is my favorite show. I love The Rookie so much. I think that Nathan Fillion is a hilarious actor, and when it comes to emotional scenes, he of course can bring it. He's a great actor. But, having him as Green Lantern where he is mainly just comedy, I think it fits him perfectly. Seriously, he was so good. But even, during the, well, almost beginning of the war, towards the end of the movie, they actually turned Green Lantern into a cool character. Now, I haven't seen the Ryan Reynolds one, and I don't really plan to, but from what I gathered, it was always just sort of a dumb character. But this one was cool. That haircut aside, he was cool. Would it have been as funny if it wasn't Nathan Fillion? I don't know. But I love the man so much, I'm willing to let it slide. Then there's Isabella Merced as Hawk Girl. I'd seen her in Transformers The Last Night. That's the first time I saw her. I believe she was in Instant Family. I believe she was the daughter there. In this movie, I think that Hawk Girl was fucking trash. Seriously. And before you say, oh, she's hot, character-wise, there's nothing going on with her. She's absolutely horrific. Like, she does nothing in the movie. And look, I know she's Hawk Girl. She's meant to be like a hawk. But the screeches at the end are some of the dumbest thing. It's one of the dumbest things I think I've ever seen in a comic book movie. It is so annoying and just horrific. Her stupid screeches paired along with with her face. Oh my god. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. So Hawkgirl is like the only character here in this movie that I will definitively say is bad. She's the only character that I did not like. I think the one person I'm surprised didn't get enough screen time in this movie is Frank Grillo as Rick Flag Sr. Really surprised by that. I say that. He will have more than enough screen time in Peacemaker Season 2. Because, of course, he will be going after Peacemaker, who stabbed his son with a frickin' brick. Ryan Reynolds from Hobbs & Shaw would be happy with that. So 11 minutes in, already longer than most reviews of this movie on YouTube. Let's talk about the beginning of the movie. The beginning of the movie is the beginning of the trailer. You get this text, and I'm not really sure why this has become a thing with movies, where we get like a text that explains everything. It's not really an issue, but I'm just raising confusion where it's like, for, like 3,000 years or whatever it is, or 300 years, there's been superheroes. 3 years ago, 3 decades ago, Kal-El came here. 3 years ago, he announced, hey, I'm Superman. And then 3 minutes ago, he lost his first battle, which they don't really make a big deal of. That's kind of crazy because Superman, someone who is, let's be honest, obviously by modern standards, not much, but in generalizing it, Superman to me was always like an overpowered superhero. Like, he can just do everything. He has eye lasers, he can fly, he has super speed, he has super strength. It's like, dude, that is way too OP. But still, in the movie, for losing his first battle, they don't really touch on it much. But yeah, the movie literally just throws you right into it. He crash lands, he tries to get Crypto to take him home, and, he does go home, thankfully. But of course, Metropolis is in danger. Of course it is. So, this is where we get a fight between him and Ultraman, and really, who cares about the fight? The important thing about the scene is this is where we are introduced to the bald menace himself, Lex frickin' Luthor. Now, in this scene, we do get a bit of dialogue, which, a lot of people are complaining about, like when, not this line specifically, but it is an example of it. When, we see Lex, one of the guys says, he's been studying him for years. When they talk about Lex and Superman, they're like, oh yeah, Lex has been studying Superman for years. And this is a complaint that I have seen a lot of people bring up with this movie, being like, oh, they're spelling out everything. They're acting like, oh, the audience can't piece it together. Like, they just state the obvious. And I'm like, people complain when they explain too much in this movie. But Fantastic Four did the exact same thing. And for some reason, no one is complaining about it. Why? See, this is the difference. Because I hold Superman and Fantastic Four basically on the same level. It is very close. So, I have a fair judgment here. I'm not being biased towards one or the other. But I do find it odd that people complain about Superman over-explaining things when Fantastic Four did basically the same thing, just in different contexts. So, I don't know, man. But this is where we see that, Lex Luthor has all of these like pre-programmed moves with like numbers and letters, He's like, oh, 11E, 4A, or things like that. It's just, all the specific moves and stuff. I loved it. I just freaking love it. And after this fight, Superman then has, the only scene in the movie as Clark Kent. This is ridiculous. I'm pretty sure this is his only scene. Okay, sorry. The interview scene as well. So one of two scenes as Clark Kent. I think that this is freaking hilarious because, people find, like, when comparing it to other superheroes, you're like, oh, they're only in their, like, civilian form for two scenes. That's horrific. But it depends on the superhero. Because with Batman, you find Bruce Wayne just as cool as Batman, and, well, depending on the version. With Superman, no one cares about Clark Kent. Come on, man. Everyone wants Superman. So, I don't really mind that he only had two scenes, which, let's just talk about them. The first scene is sort of just a little comedic thing, and then you get the actually important one, which I believe was 11 minutes, 12 minutes long, of the interview that Lois Lane does with Clark as Superman. And I just love how he switches up the voice. That was probably one of the most shocking parts from that official trailer, is when you just hear him go, Miss Lane, and you hear the change in his voice, like how it went from so high pitched to so formal, and it just, oh my god. This scene, I think, was a standout because, you see both perspectives. Obviously, Lois, sort of agrees with Superman that, of course, you are a hero, you gotta save people. But looking at it from the legal standpoint, you can't do this because you didn't meet with this person and that person and agree with this person. Whereas Superman is just like, I'm not representing anyone, man. I'm just saving people. And that's like one of my favorite bits of dialogue, when he's like, I'm not representing anybody. I'm just, doing good. I love that. I love it. And people were complaining in the trailer of like Superman screaming when he's like, people were going to die. I'm like, dude, come on. Superman is not going to be happy all the time. Relax. And, if you are being interviewed by Lois Lane because you saved people's lives and she's putting it against you, you'll get pissed as well. Even if she looks like the way she does in this movie, which 10 out of 10. Which, by the way, just before we move on from Clark, I will just comment on this detail that Green Lantern brings up later in the movie, that he has like hypno glasses or whatever it is, where when Superman is wearing the glasses, he he makes the other people's brains not see Superman, which to me is just dumb. If you did this with literally any other version of Superman, I would agree. Because I feel like most people will agree that Superman, in all of history, no specific version of the character, in all of history, Superman has the worst disguise in human form ever. All he does is put on glasses. In this movie, they actually had a great way to show the difference between Clark Kent and Superman. I actually looked at Clark and Superman as two different people. I was like, you know what? That is a great disguise. Mainly because, yes, of course he has the glasses, but he also curls his hair. His hair as Clark is significantly curlier than it is as Superman. So I could definitely see them as two different people. But the one movie where you actually have Clark look different to Superman, you decide to throw in this, oh yeah, he has hypno glasses, yada yada yada. No! But yeah, anyway, big fight scene. We get the kaiju fight, which, mental. Great CGI, by the way, amazing CGI. I love the way that this monster looked. And this is where we're introduced to the Justice Gang. And to be honest with you, I actually forgot they were in the movie. Normally, whenever anything is shown in the trailers, I always have it like seared into my brain and genuinely can't forget it. A good example is Sinners. Sinners, I know that second trailer for Sinners is god awful. It showed everything. But one shot from there was, of Smoke using the Tommy gun, and that was like one of the last shots of the movie. So after the climax, I was like, we didn't see that shot yet. So yeah, that's just an example. But I can't believe how I forgot about the Justice Gang. This scene is like just a hint, or just a hint. It is, what I want from Superman, and that is him saving individual people. Because that's the main reason I was excited for this movie, is to see an old-fashioned classic superhero film. Because nowadays you have so many. I say nowadays, DC like doesn't make movies anymore. They release like one every 50 years. Mainly with Marvel, almost every single villain is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna destroy the universe, I'm gonna destroy this planet. So the whole movie, the characters are only fighting for the entire universe, so they don't have to go out of their way to save people. And Thunderbolts did this. Thunderbolts did it just before, well, I say just before, during the third act. You have Alexei pulling the people out of the way of the falling debris. You have him cushioning the fall of the rock for the little girl. You have Bucky, throwing the van away. You got John Walker holding up the giant slab, like the giant wall thing. It was good. It's nice to see people save civilians. But Superman, I was so excited for this, and yes, you do get it. You get a lot of him saving people. Him saving the squirrel, I think, is freaking amazing. I love that detail. I just love it. It's so good. And the thing is that people are like, oh my god, how can he save the squirrel? This is so dumb. Superman, why did you save the fucking squirrel? And I'm like, guys, why are you all so goddamn miserable all the time? It's Superman saving a squirrel, bruh. These strike me as the same kind of people who would cheer if, Zack Snyder's Superman punched a puppy and all of its intestines blew over the screen, and they would just cheer. That's what I imagine these people would be doing. Like miserable losers, man. So you get that, and even with the big kaiju thing, Superman is like, okay, he's using the X-ray vision, which Henry Cavill's version never did. Like he's using X-ray vision. He's like, okay, so let's see. We can move it away from the city, then we can study it and everything like that. Mr. Terrific just got so bored of it, and even the Justice Gang kills it, and you can see the visible, like, not just annoyance but disappointment on Superman's face when it dies, because even though it's a threat to the city, he doesn't want to kill it. And that's what I loved. That's what I loved about it. And I'll get, that more in the third act. But by this point, I was wondering, okay, so how exactly is, are Superman and Lex gonna meet? Because obviously, obviously they're gonna meet. Like, come on. So what would the inciting incident be? Well, Lex obviously goes to Superman's Fortress of Solitude and takes Krypto. And I just love the scene of when Superman just bursts into the building and he's like, where's the dog? Where's the dog? And Lex is like, what dog? I don't know what you're talking about. And he just sips his coffee. Oh my god. I was like, Supes, please just punch him, bro. Please. But this is basically how Superman gets captured, right? He ends up in this glass box and he gets taken to this place where I forgot what it is. Like it's something to Pocket Dimension. That's it. Pocket Dimension. And this is just where Lex keeps all the people who he doesn't like, whether it's ex-girlfriends, certain superheroes, whatever it is. He just keeps them here. And you get probably the darkest scene of the movie, and that is when this random like food, I don't even know what you call it, like food cart guy, who was just helping Superman up earlier in the movie. Literally all he did was pick Superman up. He helped him stand up. And Lex murders this man. He just murders him. And it's a horrific scene to watch. And you really hate this version of Lex when you see it. And my god, you just want him to die. You're like, please. I know you have to keep him alive for the future movies. Please just kill him. That scene is horrific to watch, absolutely horrific to watch. And this is where, Superman meets Metamorpho. And Metamorpho is just basically keeping the kryptonite on his arm, which this is where my main issue with this movie comes in, and that is they did not do, in my opinion, a good job at starting off this DCU, because the main problem with the DCEU, last time, is they were just rushing it. They were just going full speed ahead, no taking time to do anything. None of this stuff. Just immediately throw us into it. Man of Steel, good first movie. Then in the next movie, you introduce Batman, you introduce Wonder Woman, you reveal the entire Justice League, you introduce Doomsday, you introduce Lex Luthor, you kill Superman, you have Batman and Superman fight. It's so much going on in the second movie of the universe. Then you have this movie, which realistically, I feel should have only had Superman. You can have the other characters, but only give them like one scene. As much as I did like, Green Lantern and Mr. Terrific, I just don't like shoving other heroes into solo films. Especially as the first movie of a new cinematic universe. You are throwing yourself into the exact same position that Zack Snyder's one was in. Those movies. I just don't like this idea of just rushing everything. Yes, you're gonna skip the backstory sometimes, because how many times are we gonna see the Waynes get shot? How many times are we gonna see Uncle Ben get shot? How many times are we gonna see the space baby go down and crash land onto Earth? But there are certain things that we just sort of brush past, like the kryptonite. The kryptonite is something that humans, this should be a monumental discovery. Superman, who is obviously the most powerful person on Earth, the strongest person on Earth, a literal alien, a god to the humans. But for some reason, we skip over the part where the humans find the only thing that can hurt him. I don't like this. I don't like this. Yeah, in my opinion, solo movies should be solo movies, especially the first one of a new cinematic universe. As much as I did like, the two of the three members of the Justice Gang, I just feel like you shouldn't have had them in this movie. Maybe introduce them in Peacemaker, but come on, man. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot to mention it. The best cameo of the movie. Freaking Peacemaker, man. Oh my god. My cinema was pretty packed. And, I will take this time to go off on a little tangent, but before I do that, the part when Peacemaker showed up, oh my god, all the guys, clearly it's like all the guys that watched Peacemaker, just all the guys in the audience just collectively gasped. They're like, oh, and it was so good. I was like sitting in there with disbelief for like 10 seconds. I was like, no freaking way, man. Freaking Peacemaker is here. Obviously he's talking trash about Superman, because by this point, this whole thing of like, oh, Superman was sent here to kill us, to rule us, which we never get a resolution to, which I find pretty stupid. But anyway, love this cameo. Absolutely loved it. So now I will take this time to just go off on a tangent about my audience. So, there was this annoying ass child who already was pissing me off in the line for the popcorn, because it was him, it was his older brother, who was probably about 10 maybe, I don't know, 10, 11, something like that, and the dad was there. And this kid was like holding, like those like retractable things between poles that separate the lines. He was like pulling that down. He was going, he was doing it for like a minute straight. I was like, dude, shut the fuck up. And then I see him go and walk into our cinema, which I will say the dad gave me an extra butter salt, so that's pretty nice. It doesn't compensate, but this fucking child, oh my god, I wanted to eliminate it because the movie was supposed to start at 12:30. For 8 minutes, this fucking dick is going, Dad, how many minutes left? How many more minutes left? And the dad eventually just got so pissed off after like the first three. And he was like, I'm not answering this question again. Okay? And I was like, oh, thank God. And this kid, every time he said something, every time, he was like 3 rows ahead of me, maybe. Every time he said something, I just went, shh, like as loud as I could. The guy next to me, or like 2 seats from me, 'cause there was no one next to me, he was laughing. He was killing himself laughing. Oh my god. Him and I were both getting so pissed off with this kid. But then the people in front of me, it was clearly like this group of friends, and it must have been like 9 or 10 of them. And they walk in and they spend like half the movie, of them getting up, going out, moving, like changing seats. And I eventually want to just go to them and be like, just sit down, shut the fuck up, and watch the goddamn movie, or just piss off and don't come back. And then there was that. And then the scene later on with Jimmy Olsen and Lexa's girlfriend, when she's like, okay, I can give you the dirt and stuff, and then we'll be together. This bitch at the end of my row screamed, desperate! I wanted to go there and punch her. I was like, you are not funny. Because I genuinely, I hate it when people talk during movies. Like, there's a difference between an active, or not active, but a nice audience and a noisy audience. I like audiences who engage with the movie. When a funny scene comes up, they laugh. When a cool scene happens, they, exclaim, they gasp, maybe occasionally clap. I don't like people who talk during the movie. Now, I was like in the middle of this row, and I genuinely wanted to just scream, shut up, but I didn't say anything. Not because I was scared of being rude, but because I felt like if I did that, she would have just screamed even more. And it would have just turned into an argument. So I didn't want to entice anything. But yeah, this was probably the worst audience I think I've ever had for any movie. It was infuriating. So I will rewatch this movie when it comes to digital, when I don't have losers just like screaming. So anyway, that's my little rant over. Where was I? Oh yeah, this whole the Peacemaker and stuff. So yeah, seeing Peacemaker was pretty fucking awesome. But there's one scene that I have to talk about, and that is Mr. Terrific's scene. Oh, wow. What a fight. So by this point, he, could track Superman's DNA, and he was like, okay, cool. So he went into the pocket dimension here, and he puts the shield around Lois Lane and just takes out all of these people. Oh my god, it is such a cool sequence. Plus the song they chose, it was just amazing. It's such an upgrade. I'm so happy that, this guy got this role, especially after Darwin. Jeez. I know James Gunn was saying that, they'd like to do a spin-off show of Mr. Terrific, and I'm just there. Like, immediately my eyes just roll, and I'm like, oh my god. Not every character needs a spin-off show. Fucking hell, man. Just give them, give them a movie. It doesn't even have to be a long movie. Not everything has to be a show. Look, I know it ain't gonna be as good as The Penguin, okay? That's the only reason I'm saying that. So yeah, they go in, they rescue Superman and Metamorpho and his son, which looks weirdly like a baby zombie from Minecraft. But anyway, they get him out, and this is basically where we enter the third act, right? Ultraman is unleashed upon Superman, and we get a freaking awesome fight scene. I loved this. It was great. You get 2 great lines from Lex here, or 2, great moments of when he goes, brains beat brawn! that part, and there was the 1A, 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 which I just want to say that I find freaking hilarious. That obviously, there's a lot of all of the different moves that Ultraman has programmed. It's, a number and a letter. And the fact that 1A signifies that this was the first move he came up with. And it's just him punching Superman in the face. I find that amazing. He's like, okay, we can think of every move we can. First thing I'm putting in is just punching Supes in the face. I love that. Just shows how petty Lex is, but he hates him so much, and I love it. But yes, it is revealed, and I heard about this a while ago, so I 20% knew it, that Ultraman is a clone of Superman, which, again, much like the whole freaking, the fact that Superman lost his first battle, just like that, they just brush over it. Like, oh yeah, it was quite easy, I found your hair, and boom, he's just like you, but dumber. They don't really do anything, they don't really explain anything. They don't do anything special with it. You clone the most powerful person on the planet. And it's like, oh yeah, he's just like you, but dumber. Really? But yeah, fantastic fight scene. I loved the freaking the directing. I love the directing and all the camera shots and everything like that. Even the way that they were gonna kill Superman, or the way that Lex wanted to kill Superman, because obviously you put Lex Luthor against Superman, and you're like, obviously in a fight there's no competition, right? So how is Lex gonna do this? Well, it's genius, because he has the engineer put the nano, realistically it's just nanotech, puts the nano things down his throat, and it fills up his lungs and stuff, which, this may be a dumb question, but does Superman need oxygen? Because, can't he just... he can fly into space. Why does he need to breathe? Probably a dumb question, but anyway. Of course, while this whole thing is happening, we are getting the war between the two countries, which have sort of been at war the whole movie. They just haven't really made any sort of advances. And this scene, I knew it was, in the trailers, when I looked at it, I was like, yeah, this is going to get me teary-eyed in the movie, and it did. That's exactly what happened, is that shot of the kid in the teaser trailer, who's, obviously there's so many people dying around him, but he holds up the flag and is just praying for Superman to show up and save them. I love that. That despite the situation, and even when you're watching the movie, it's made even better. Seeing that the world is beginning, the world hates Superman because they all think he was sent to rule us. Seeing this kid not lose hope, still hoping for Superman to show up. It did, obviously, it got the tears, the tears flowing, I'm not gonna lie, but I expected it to. Just because that is such a phenomenal moment. I love it. I love it so much. It's nice seeing stuff like this. Oh my god. It's not just people being like, oh, yeah, it's like one of the Avengers will come. I don't know who it's going to be. Whose solo movie is it? Doctor Strange? Okay, Doctor Strange will come save us. Don't worry. No, here, this kid, despite he's about to be killed. The gun is literally aimed at him. He's still holding that flag strong, even after all the other kids left him. He's holding that flag and hoping that Superman will save them. And yes, Superman does save them. Just, he doesn't go there. He causes something which saves them. Beautiful moment. Absolutely beautiful moment. I love it. But there is one problem with this third act. Well, I say the third act. It's the end of the third act, right? The end of the final battle, which I have a problem with. And that is when they are closing this whole pocket dimension crack thing, which honestly looks like the Upside Down at the end of season 4 of Stranger Things. When all 4 gates sort of make this giant cross at the in Hawkins. When it's being put back together, I can understand, okay, yeah, the ground being put back together, sure, that makes sense. But the buildings, the buildings get put back together, and obviously the post-credit scene does sort of like add on to this, but I find it so dumb that the buildings just like perfectly end up like basically how they were before. It's so stupid, but I'm like willing to sort of let it slide. As dumb as it is, it is very stupid, but still, I'll let it slide. And then you get, a scene which has sparked a lot of anger, and that is the speech scene from Superman. Now, Superman's part of the speech is very, very corny, very cheesy, very old school, and that's what made it perfect. This this is a speech coming from someone who is not, a tragic character or someone who like flaunts their trauma. This isn't a character who just like is so complicated and has like a moral, all these different beliefs and stuff. No, this is simply coming from a person who believes that they are just put here to do good. And Lois says this early in the movie, just after the Peacemaker cameo. When she's like, everyone you meet, you just think that they're amazing, and that is such great writing. Superman is the one superhero that I feel is allowed to be like cheesy like this, because it works. It works for the character. He's meant to be so like good that it's annoying, like when like when they were fighting the kaiju and he says, "Oh, let's see how we can study it and stuff like that." Mr. Terrific is like, "Oh god." And he just flies away. So that's how Superman's meant to be, and I loved it. Moving on to Lex's part of the speech, it was getting very good. It really was. It was getting on to some really cool stuff. When he's like, the government gave me permission to kill you. And it was just going on and on and on until Crypto came in. Now, I loved Crypto. I did. I really liked him. I think that he was adorable. Wasn't really a huge fan of him just throwing Lex around the room. I would have been fine with it if Lex had finished his speech. But yeah, I feel like you could have waited, man. That's like the one time. This is like a Marvel scene, because with Marvel, very rarely, it's like 1 in 10 when you get an emotional scene that ends without like a freaking punchline or a joke. This movie, you have both. You have this scene, which could have been very powerful, but it ends with a joke. But earlier in the movie, after Superman is like injured and everything, you get the scene with him and Pa Kent, where that scene was very emotional, very serious, very warm, and it didn't end with a joke. It was a great, great scene. Even after the battle is done, you get such a good moment between Superman and Lois where he's like, "Oh, would you like an interview?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, just come over here." And you get it's a beautiful shot. It really is, of them kissing, but they're like rotating and floating. It's such a good shot. It really, really is. I loved it. Then Lex gets arrested, and this I wasn't really too pleased about. For Lex, who's supposed to be like such an intelligent character, he's meant to be so smart, yet he couldn't see that his girlfriend was taking selfies with sensitive information in the background. 2025 really isn't the year for smart villains, eh? The leader, who was supposed to be like, oh, he's so unbelievably intelligent, he's so smart that his brain is literally coming out of his skull. That's how intelligent he is. And yet he did nothing. You get to Lex Luthor, who is, still very intelligent, but he couldn't see that his girlfriend was doing this. But yeah, I mean, that is pretty much the end of the movie. And then we get to the, oh no, How could I forget? Supergirl. Look, I don't really know anything about Supergirl. Obviously, they say that she's his cousin, but as far as any sort of version of the character goes, I watched like one episode of the Supergirl show, but this was like ages ago. This was a couple years ago, and I don't really remember anything. I mean, this version seems kind of cool, so I'm, willing to watch this. I'm willing to watch her movie, but yeah, she's okay. I mean, it does make sense that it's her dog because Crypto is an absolute dick the entire movie. Like, I love Crypto. I think he's adorable, but I did find it slightly annoying that he's just always doing the wrong thing. He only sort of really helps in the final battle, but it made sense by the end of the film where it's like, oh, it's not his dog. They say, earlier in the movie, oh, it's a fostering situation. But still, it makes sense that it's her dog. You just see Crypto like slam her into the ground. I think it's hilarious. But yeah, that's the end of the movie where, where Superman is looking at the videos of his parents. And, the beginning of the movie, he was looking at the videos of his Kryptonian parents. Here now he's looking at his real parents, which I will just say before we move on to the post and mid-credit scenes, I was very disappointed with this. Very disappointed that they did not wrap up the story of his parents because when you first get the movie opens up with showing, oh yeah, he does it, he never got the second half of the message because it's like broken and stuff because his ship was damaged. So when you hear Lex Luthor, of all people, say, oh yeah, we've decoded the message, we've translated it perfectly, and it translates to the parents telling Superman to rule humanity, obviously you're not going to believe it because it's coming from Lex Luthor, of all people. But even Mr. Terrific says, oh no, that's true, that translation is correct. And then you reach the end of the movie and you go, wait a minute, they never actually changed this. So are they seriously hinting at the fact that Superman's parents were evil? That they actually did send him there to rule humanity? Or is that going to be something that's revealed in the next movie or the third one? I mean, Superman is writing, James Gunn is writing the sequel to Superman as we speak. I mean, I do hope that they give us closure for that, but still, regardless as to whether we get it or not, the fact that they didn't wrap it up in this movie was very disappointing. So, yeah, as far as the actual movie goes, I think that is it until something eventually pops into my head. Mid-credit scene, pretty shit. It's just Superman sitting on the moon with Crypto. Then post-credit scene, I love this. I loved this because I am very OCD and everything needs to be like perfect for me. And Superman is looking at the building and the one half of the building isn't in line with the other half. And Mr. Terrific is like, so what do you want for me to like pull it apart and put it back together again? And he's like, no, it's just and then Mr. Terrific just walks off and like kicks a bucket or whatever it is. Well, he doesn't kick the bucket. He kicks something, and it is so funny to me when like Superman is OCD. It's so good. Oh my god, I found this hilarious. I'm sorry, but yeah, that is pretty much it. Probably my favorite thing about this movie is just all the little scenes of Superman saving people. The squirrel scene, obviously. The final battle, like when he comes back to save that woman. Well, he doesn't come back to save the woman, but he comes back and saves that woman who was driving and was about to be crushed. Loved that. Just all the goodness that he shows, really. Still, I feel like this movie should have been just Superman. We didn't need the Justice Gang. We really didn't. I don't even know if we needed the pocket dimension. You just needed Lex Luthor, Shaw Ultraman, the Engineer, and Superman. That's all you needed, man. I feel like, obviously it's not a competition, but the one thing that I will say Fantastic Four did better than Superman is introducing us to their universe, and Superman, granted, needed to have done it better because with Fantastic Four, we are not going to be staying in their universe. Here, The DCU is going to be the brand new cinematic universe. You needed to have this set up perfectly. And I feel like they sort of didn't really do a good job with that. But anyway, this video is already 50 minutes long. So I will just end this off by saying that this is a movie that I have been interested to talk about because so many people, or vocal people anyway, just crap on this movie for the dumbest shit. And like, this is the opposite of that. This is a movie that's meant to inspire hope. It's Superman. It's meant to be hopeful. It's meant to be cheery. You know, it's meant to be old school. And people are out here just bashing it like it's the worst thing in the world. How are we allowing shit like a Minecraft movie to make almost $1 billion when Superman isn't getting half the amount of love it should? Look, is it a perfect movie? No. Are there glaring issues? Yes. Does that make it a bad movie? Hell freaking no. James Gunn, he continues, man. James Gunn carries on this, this trend of him making great comic book movies. Obviously, nothing he does will ever be Guardians 3, in my opinion, but still, looking forward to whatever he has planned for the DCU. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is my review of Superman. I know I'm like 3 weeks late, but I haven't had the chance to watch it. So yeah, please let me know your thoughts on Superman down in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video, then please leave a like, subscribe, and goodbye.